Oh, well, do you find like since you cut people of older hair, younger people, you cut people of many ethnic groups, and so do you find like the older generation, younger generation, they come with the same mentality towards their haircut, or do you find like the younger generation, since they're younger, they have less restraint, or do you find it vice versa?
Restraint as in what they would do with their hair?
Yeah, restraint like what they
Yeah,
would do with their
more or less the older people I've dealt with, they like to keep a consistent pattern with their hair. They don't like to really switch it up too much. On occasion though, they do want to drop those age years down. They'll go back and they'll go with the cut they used to do or something like that, just to bring time back. And they might stay consistent with that depending on how much they like it. But yeah, there's a difference. But at the end of the day, in terms of consistency and always wanting to look good, there's no real difference. They come when they come to see their barber, they always want to look their best leaving
okay.
on.
Because you know how in like the 1970s, 1960s, like with African Americans, let's go back to that, like 1950s, you saw all the musicians with slick back hair, and 1960s, 70s with the civil rights movement, we saw more people having like the term natural hair, exposing afros and all that. Would you say that we have the similar self-expression now with the same thing, or do you think the meaning has been changed?
You see me, I'm trying to go for that right now. So, like, it's a circle. It's a real like depends on style at the time. There was one period I know that barbers or hairdressers or whatever, they weren't doing good, and that was maybe during the Beatles time because they were growing their hair out. I can't remember what years that was, but that was my pop told me that. But yeah, like we still hold a lot of that stuff anyway. So hair has changed, like the style has changed, but at the end of the day, it's just building on old practices, old styles, maybe a little more perfect, but it's just differentiation. We try to express ourselves through our hair. But yeah, we've come a long way, but we're still traditional. We hold those values.
And also it's something else about health messages, because we know the body can tell health messages. Like you know how like when at the time back to the SARS, there was sort of a negative attitude towards people that were of Asian American, or with H1N1 or with mad cow disease. We tend to be biased towards those around farms. Do you feel like, because with some barbers I have heard, like if you feel good, if you look good, you feel good rationale. Do you find like that is something that is needed for the social health status of like when you cut hair, or do you think that's just something that comes with? Do you find that true? To be like if someone look good, they feel good, and you think that's a potential health thing? Because in some research I have done, barbershops are the most effective things for telling like those people that do not like trust the traditional media outlet to get out messages of health. Do you feel like it's part of that? If you look good, you feel good mentality, or if you feel good, you look.
Well, look at athletes, like they won't like to perform without looking good. So it's just ingrained in us, I feel. Like if you have that opportunity to look good, why not look good while you're performing? And it just raises your rapport towards everything, really. Like it's just positive, so positive. And, like just for me, making somebody look a certain way, the way that they want to look, like there's no comparing it. Just having a person smile so hard and just be like thank you and thank you and thank you. It's just there's no feeling like it. There's been on occasions I've worked with certain people, and it's like a crazy experience. Like they're going through insane circumstances, insane experiences. They'll share them with me. I'll cut their hair, and they came into my chair and they were so down, and so like just out of it, and they leave, and it's almost like a complete transformation, mentally and visually.
So you find the marketing with things like for men, where like the men are happy with how their hair looks. Do you find that an adequate like social health meter, that if you do get that great haircut, it could make you feel a bit better?
The color with that. I deal with that. Yeah, I deal with that color stuff, and it does make a difference. Like if you have receding corners, and I'm able to cover up those corners, whether it be with fading with my techniques that I use or with coloring techniques, it makes people look in the mirror and they're just like, well, you brought me back 10 years. Or with the beard, when you could put the beard in for them, it's remarkable the type of effect it has. Those products are good for restoring mental health in a sense, but at the end of the day, it's additive to the haircut. So you need that haircut, and then the products are over the top just to raise your level of morale.
So when you're saying that, so do you also find, because you know how sometimes with our body we try to be overly expressive, like back in the days when they had carnivals and like we used to have the freak shows, or I guess for now we sort of resemble that with goths or punks, or like with the dyeing like of exuberant hair colors. Do you find like when you're cutting some people's hair, do you find like we still have that carnivalistic, transgressive mentality towards our body?
There's a niche for that. Like, if I was big on that niche, I'd be able to find where my target market would be located. There's people who design their hair until design by design I mean like just crazy lines all in their hair or crazy colors, different colors. There's a population that does that, and there's a specific target population. It's just comes down to niche marketing, like who is your niche and who you want to focus on, and they still do that. Like anything that you see from the 1850s that was crazy back then, they still do it now.
Do you find it's more of a counterculture, like they're trying to go against the natural system, or do you think it's just like the natural? Do you feel like people, like when you cut people, do they view their body as just a body, or do they feel like the body as that unique, that like I am not part of society, I can do what I want?
Obviously depends on the person, but just when it comes down to individuality and the uniqueness of each person's haircut, hairline, and their overall visual appearance, yeah, it definitely can be used as a rebellious tool. But at the end of the day, it just differentiates us. So they could use it whichever way they feel like it. But yeah, it's a differentiation.
And because as we know, like there's been a lot of technology that has increased in the barber world, from scissors and and razors to, like you just said right now,
clips,
you use a lot of clippers right now. Do you ever feel that like with like the technology that we're able, and the medicine that are able to like start helping people like with their receding hairlines and all that, do you feel like there is a time where that technology can make it that barbering is not really needed? Like we might be able to like find a way for people to grow that perfect hairline and those things that we don't need to trim up all the time? Or do you like
that won't ever, I can't see that ever occurring. Like there's too much to getting your haircut than just getting your haircut. There's so much more to it. The experience, the conversations you're able to have, the level of comfort. I don't think any machine, any technology could take that away. That relationship you build, that trust relationship. Like people use barbershops as a place to get away, to talk about other things, to get away from their reality. So I don't think there's any technology. And when if that technology ever happens to come around, I feel like it's just a different type of humanity. That'll be robots or technology controlling our world to that extent. Like right now, technology is picking up, but it's not at that point where we can't conversate with each other and share our feelings and emotions with each other.
And do you feel like just that by cutting, do you feel like you just sense that technology hasn't fully taken over yet?
Well, in my, like they can give you tools to help you get through stuff a little faster or a little more efficiently, but no, it hasn't taken over in that sense where, like you see how Netflix, for example, is shut down Blockbuster, or emails put in post offices out of contention. No, not even. People always try to cut their own hair, but at the end of the day, a professional always does it I usually with me, I just if somebody comes to me twice, like I got them for life. At
But
that
do you
point.
think that's due to the physical training that you have put your body through, like the norms of
Yeah,
and the different experiences that you have come to pass as a barber?
yeah, you go through some hard experiences. You go through good ones, obviously, but yeah, it's just practice. I guess it's the same thing with everything, but with barbering especially, it's the amount of time you put in is the level of comfort the confidence you'll have in yourself, and the confidence other people have in you. Like it's just time. You gotta put in time, and you gotta work with the same person over time to develop that relationship and that trust in each other.
And how do you feel about the overall prestige that a barber feels like? You came from Montreal, this is your first semester at Bishop. Do you feel like the prestige of a barber is the same thing? Or do you feel like when you tell someone it's a like let's say you were to go to a class and say, I am a barber, how do people react to you being a barber? Like do you find like it really depends on the mark, like the segment of the population you are in, or
A lot of people don't understand the power of a barber, and any stylist, any artist, like these early, they don't see the vision, like, or at least the vision I have when it comes to this barber game. So looking at me, they can ask me what I do, and as they get to know me, they might not feel like a barber is that big of a thing. Some people are just in awe and they're like, wow, that's amazing. Other people are just like, oh, that's okay. It's all about money, you know. But barber, like the power that you have as a barber, uncomparable.
do you think it's more of due to the, because in sociology it's two things, there's the interaction. Do you think it's more of the interaction people have with you? Do you think it's more of the structure that society already has in place?
It's pretty crazy though, because going back to your previous, like